Hello.
How does the quality sound? Okay, how's this sound? 3, 2, 1. What's up, ladies and gentlemen? This is Teddy Brosevelt time. Episode numero uno of the inaugural TeddyBrosevelt.substack.com podcast today. For loyal fans of Teddy Brosevelt, I'm about ready to blow your mind, folks, because we are expanding the Brad Swail metaverse from his own number one political podcast in Austin to his appearances in studio with Todd and Don at KLBJ, the legends, to now, if he's on the line still, the one and only iconoclast, Austin legend, hero, husband, dad, host, and producer of the Austin City Councilman podcast, the one and only Brad Swail. Brad, how are you doing today?
Hold on, I'm still bowing. Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Dude,
I'm great, man.
Brad, the tables have turned. The metaverse, people are probably freaking out. I'm introducing you. I'm going to have a little applause thing coming on. I don't know. I might have to play your theme song backwards, Brad. To do the intro, just to expand the metaverse.
That would be pretty funny if you did that.
Todd
You have my permission.
Is that Todd Jeffries? Is that Todd Jeffries on the other line? Hold on. Nope. Oh, it looks like he just hung up. All right, Brad. How are you doing, man? You're expanding the metaverse. Welcome to the inaugural episode of the I think we're calling it Teddy Brosevelt time.
Well, I mean, that's what you said at the beginning. I don't know what this we is, man. This is your show. Whatever you're calling it is what we're calling it.
You don't know, the feedback could be tremendous for the metaverse expansion, Brad. I don't know if you know, Brendan Schaub, he's got an empire. I think he's on 4 different podcasts now that he co-hosts. He has a Tuesday one, a Thursday one. So
yeah, well, Brendan. I'm sure they have plenty of producers. You and I are. It seems like we're. I don't know about you, but I'm my own producer here. They have, their very own Jamies who sit there and control the boards and maybe do some research on the fly. When I'm doing this and when you're doing this, we're staring at our screens trying to do everything all at once.
So for those who are brand new to the Teddy Brosevelt universe and the metaverse, Brad Swail can be found at Brad Swail. That's SWA as in Adam, I as in iguana, L as in lamb, or llama, take your pick, double L. And Brad, you're the host of the Austin City Councilman podcast on Spotify, iTunes. You on Tidal?
I mean, I think I'm on wherever podcasts are found. I believe you could even ask your home assistant device, your smart device,
Alexa,
to play the.
Oh yeah.
Yes, I'm not going to say it because I have one sitting right next to me, and boy, is that annoying. So yeah, you can find me there, and of course, I'm always on the Todd and Don show on KLBJ Friday mornings from 9:30 to 10.
Awesome. So that's Central Time, and you can find that on TuneIn Radio. I know that. So, Brad, spin the wheel. Lots to talk about. The Substack, I like to cover some national stories. But since we're starting local and we met through the Austin City Councilman podcast, let's talk about what's going on in Texas here today, Brad. It's the summer solstice day after, longest day of the year. So if you're a solar sustainable energy fan, this is a huge week. This is when solar's peaking. Did you see the graph I sent you with the projected wind power for today from ERCOT?
Well, I mean, what's the difference between wind power? I mean, it's the longest. Well, I guess we're one day after the longest day, right? But wind power looks way down. I would hope, considering the weather and the time of year, that solar is going to be skyrocketing. Is that not the case?
Solar is pretty consistent. It peaks to around 10,000. Of course, it's the sun does go down. I mean, that's the whole thing is thank God the sun is at its peak when wind is going down, but heaven forbid the sun goes down at the same time that the wind drops. But right now, and people were trumpeting on the left. They love to cherry pick, hot days to make huge pronouncements about the climate. And let's not forget there was only one 100-degree day in Austin at Camp Mabry all last summer. And no one made huge pronouncements about it cooling. But yeah, Brad, it was 25,000. I think wind and solar one day last week. It was over 30,000. Everyone's like, oh my God, wind and solar are, combined providing, I think it was 38% of today's electricity. Hey, that's great. But the whole problem, and who wouldn't want, wouldn't it be better just to eliminate all the dirty energy and just harness it all from the sun and the wind? I mean, who wouldn't want that reality? The big thing here, Brad, I want to expound on this, is the Biden administration's plan to bring us into a Green New Deal, green thing. He's accelerating it way before. This is a decades-long plan, and they want it to happen right now, and it's punishing everyone in a million different ways.
Yeah, well, Teddy, I think that what you're not considering, and I don't think many people are considering this, but once the nuclear war gets hot with Russia, what are we going to do when there's a nuclear winter? How will the wind blow? How will the sun shine? From the movies I've seen, everything becomes pretty desolate. It seems like the air is still, and of course you can't even see the sun. So what do we do then?
Brad, the whole Ukraine situation, do you see Ben Stiller had an opportunity, and Zelensky had time to carve out of his busy schedule to shake his hand? Did you see that?
I did see that, and some astute observer on Twitter, I think, pointed out that he must be doing some sort of role research for a movie that's coming up. That would not surprise me, right? I mean, he's got to get out there, he's got to meet, he's got to get his name back in the public imagination. And they have that similar build. They don't look that much alike, but a pretty similar build. I think he could pass.
I'm shocked Ben Stiller didn't rock the green tight T-shirt with a zipper that Zelensky seems to just have surgically attached to his torso now.
Yeah, he's going for that insurgent
military
look almost.
Yeah, sort of like military. He's not going a typical presidential.
I mean, I think the guy is worth hundreds of millions of dollars and has multiple homes across Europe or whatever, and he's trotting around in this green T-shirt. I guess that was that's what Steve Jobs did. He simplified his life, just wore crappy old blue jeans and that black turtleneck. Maybe Zelensky's trying to channel his inner Steve Jobs. Focus on the important things, not what to wear. Simplify your life.
Yeah, I mean, the fact that it's a war zone, they're trying to tell us it's a war zone, and none of these people from Joe Biden to U2 to whatever look like they had any concern whatsoever about being shelled by heavy artillery. And it just seems like the media's tune has changed, and now the sanctions are backfiring. Did you see, 2 years ago, Germany made a huge deal about they were shutting down all their coal plants. Did you see Germany had to fire those bad boys back up?
Yeah, they had to fire them back up. And do you know where they're getting the coal from?
Bangladesh?
No,
Russia?
Teddy. You get one more guess. Yes.
From Russia. Well, I saw all these European countries ask Bangladesh, please, can you make more coal or send us more coal? The price of natural gas, it fluctuates a lot. So that's gone up. And now you're talking about a serious danger of people freezing to death. I mean, Denmark, Finland, Norway, these countries, Spain, there's not giant oil reserves in Great Britain. So it's crazy how their sanctions are just really punishing the European and the American middle and lower class. I mean, anyone making under $100K is feeling it, and especially if you have kids. I mean, if you have no matter what your income is, you're feeling it big time. So, did you see Biden is supposedly he's making a speech at 2 p.m. this afternoon, Brad, about a gas tax holiday, federal gas tax holiday. That would be 18 cents for a gallon of unleaded and 25 cents for diesel. How do you feel about that?
I mean, it's not enough, right? 3 days is not enough. They need to make that permanent. Make that holiday. Make that a jubilee, right? It's 3 months. Well, that's still not enough. It needs to be a permanent jubilee. We need to be free from the gas tax.
Well, what I understand is the gas tax is to pay for the interstate for roadway improvements.
Yeah, it pays for the roads. I get it. I know.
Well, they just announced, I don't know if you know, he just gave a $1 trillion, the infrastructure bill. That's the one thing that they did get passed, and that sort of segues into the next thing. I don't know if you've seen, but each state, all 50 states, has until, I think it's August 3rd, to submit to the Biden administration, and Texas has $448 million. They just submitted their plan to build a electric vehicle charging grid every 50 miles on every state highway throughout the country. And Texas, I mean, you've states like Wyoming and Colorado, like, it's just simply not feasible. Like, hardly anyone, there's no services out there, there's no wires out there. And they wanted to have, the Texas one, room for 4. So there's 4 stations that you can pull in. It's going to take 30 minutes to charge the typical battery from 10% to 80%. So the grid they're making in Texas, Brad, is going to be like, I think a 3-year plan or a 5-year plan. First, they're doing it in major areas, then whatever. Then you're talking about like the panhandle of Texas, like ridiculous places where, guess what? There's 30 counties. Well, I think out of the 250-some counties in Texas, 230 have at least one electric vehicle registered. There's 20 counties that don't have a single electric vehicle registered, but they have to dot. All West Texas, like imagine like between El Paso and Odessa Midlands, like those desolate highways along the border, there's going to be charging stations there for 4 cars.
Yeah, and they admit that one of the reasons why people don't buy the electric vehicles, one of the hesitations, is because they don't know how they would charge it if they were to take a trip somewhere. If they were to drive from, say, Austin to Houston, will it make it? Will I be able to charge it somewhere in between, or when I get there, or whatever? Which I think is it's obviously a legitimate concern, and this maybe helps alleviate that a little bit. But if there's only 4 charging stations per station, right? If I'm leaving Austin and going to Dallas, let's say, and I know I'm going to need to charge it, I'm going to try to make sure it's at 100%. At some point down the road, I'm going to get to 10% or whatever. There's going to be a lot of other people. I'm not the only person driving to Dallas at that point. I'm sure that everyone's always driving to and from Dallas, between Austin and Dallas. The 4 stations, and if it takes 30 minutes, it just sounds like such a pain in the ass to do. I mean, I like the idea of an electric car. They're not, as my understanding, they're not as environmentally friendly as everyone thinks that they are. The mining that goes into making these batteries and the recyclability of them all, it makes it, this is not going to, me personally, this is not going to change my mind about the usability of an electric vehicle if I were to try to go somewhere outside of Austin. I'm going to stick with my diesel SUV. Thank you very much.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, 2 of the top 3 concerns people have with the electric vehicles is, where am I going to charge it, and will I run out of power? And they were asking the Texas, there's a 47-page PDF. I'm going to break it down on Substack later, and they have like granular details. And they were asking, like, is there going to be like a reservation system? They're like, yeah, we're hoping to have something in place, because imagine, they go, okay, if there's 28,000, Brad, there's 30 million residents in Texas, roughly. There's 128,000 registered vehicles as of, I think it's 2020 or 2021.
Electric vehicles?
That's probably gone up. Electric vehicles. There's 130,000, roughly. in Texas, that's definitely gone up by at least 10, 20,000 just with Tesla and all the tech workers who've moved to Central Texas from the coast, California. Absolutely, there's no question. Oracle employees, all that. So even so, this grid is going to handle 1 million. It's built to handle 1 million cars. So it can grow by another 850,000. That's what their plan is. So in 3 years, imagine this. So the grid's supposed to be done by 2025 or 2026. So if 850,000 electric vehicles get sold between now and then, and most of the electric vehicles that are registered in Texas are new. Half of them have been purchased in the last year. They're this decade, the model. So it's going to be max to capacity. Like, you might have to make a reservation for that. Like, for 4th of July weekend, if you want to drive from Austin to Corpus Christi or Port Aransas to go to the beach, Brad, Mustang Island State Park, you might have to reserve your slot in the 4-car charger on the way down there or the way back if you're towing a boat and a truck, and they say they're going to have pull-through ones for RV and trucks, but maybe 2 of them are for compact cars, 2 of them are pull-through. So you won't be able to make it from San Antonio to Austin towing a boat with the air conditioning in a truck if it's electric. So just imagine, like, it totally takes the spontaneity. I mean, sometimes it's just spontaneous. Hey, it's going to be super hot. Let's drive down to the ocean. And it's 2 or 3 hours. It's not that ridiculous to just do it on a whim. And it's just a level of stress and anxiety. And it's like, what if what if the thing's out of order? What if it's a freezing and the connection from the thing to your car is too cold? Or what if it went out and there's no service guy and it's in the middle of nowhere? Like, you're stranded, you're stuck. And
yeah,
so
I'm curious how the reservation system is going to work, though. I mean, how far in advance can you make the reservation? You're driving along and you're about to run out of battery and all of them are full. What do? Do you just show up and hope that you can squeeze in, or you're already there and someone else made a reservation? That sounds sort of like a logistical nightmare.
Oh yeah. Well, and they're saying they don't even know if it's going to be in place. So you don't know if you get there, it's a half hour already you're waiting to charge. So if there's 2 cars ahead of you per slot, I mean, you're there for a couple hours. I mean, that sucks. And then you can't keep the AC and the radio going and to charge your phone because you might run out of juice.
No. Well, I mean, what we are not considering is that the technology will likely improve, and the distance, the capacity of the battery, the maximum distance will probably improve over time. I'm sure it will. I think the Cybertruck is supposed to have 3 batteries, where I think the other Teslas have a maximum of 2, maybe. So they'll get longer distances, and maybe it'll become less of a problem, and this will sort of work out, in conjunction with that technological advancement. But, I don't know what else can be done. I mean, certainly, it's fun to talk about the problems of all this, but, what are the solutions?
Well, Brad, one thing's for sure, the amount of, I think there's 500,000 pounds of earth or tons of earth that gets moved to make like one of these batteries, just to get the lithium, the cadmium, everything. And then the workers, how did they all get to work today, all to the Texas Tesla Gigafactory? Did they ride their bikes? Did they walk? Did they all drive electric cars? I mean, and then a lot of the other components are made from oil and gas. So let's not act like it's a totally benevolent thing. And let's not also act like we aren't rooting for this. Like, I think it would be the most amazing discovery. Imagine if it was Moore's Law with processing power. If anyone doesn't know that the law of chips worth, I think it's every 12 months, the cost drops or the speed doubles. And you can see it with like digital cameras and, little chips, like how cheap like an 8 gigabyte USB drive. has gotten in 20 years. It used to be $80, now it's $2 or $3. It's just a tchotchke. So
right.
Imagine if that was the case with solar, Brad. It would be a miracle. There's the problem with solar and wind and anything sustainable, and is no one's developed a battery to harness all this energy. So the solution right now is, yes, let's devote more resources into the R&D. Let's incentivize companies to really, hey, if we're putting people on the moon, imagine if Bezos and Branson and Elon, devoted all that to trying to figure out how to get a solar panel to harness every little bit of sunshine and then sort of store it. I mean, if you look at the history of humanity, like almost all of the breakthrough energy inventions have happened in the last 150, 200 years, from steam power to oil to you name it, and figuring out the uses. It seems like we're due, man. Maybe someone can invent something that harnesses the power of the sun a little bit better. But to act like
also figure out where else to build them besides China. Isn't it like 98% of all solar panels and their components, they all come from China or something like that?
Yeah, and then the semiconductor too. I just wrote a Substack about this, teddybrosevelt.substack.com, about 92% of the world's semiconductors that power every single smartphone, laptop, ballistic missile, like everything. And
now, do you say semiconductor or do you say semiconductor?
It should be semi, probably the latter, I think. You're always good at correcting.
I'm not saying one is correct or not correct. You said semiconductor, and do people say that? I don't know. You're from a different part of the country than I am.
I don't know. I'm thinking probably a semi-truck instead of semiconductor. It's probably semiconductor. Like semi sounds more trucking.
Well, I mean, a semi-truck, right? You say that, don't you? Semi-truck.
Yeah. I think so. I am. It's a Philly. Hey,
I don't. I'm grilling you. What were you saying?
Oh, geez.
I got your Substack. Well, I got your Substack pulled up right here, all about the Chinese Communist Party's propaganda from the Global Times.
Yeah, they're ramping it up. They're using the exact same blueprint as the Ukraine thing. It's just a slow bleed. That's the thing is, all these sanctions, Brad, are backfiring. There literally will be people freezing and starving to death in Europe. They have it way worse than us, at least. Have you seen any of the farmer fear porn, Brad, on TikTok, where they're like, this bale of hay last year cost me, $4. This year, $18. This thing of grain. Have you seen any of the farmer fear porn?
I mean, I don't know if I would call what I've seen fear porn, but someone, a listener of my show, did send me a video of a very beautiful rancher lady. Seems like there's a lot of really hot rancher ladies out there, but she was talking about the price of
FarmersOnly.com.
Farmers what?
FarmersOnly.com. Remember that dating site?
Was it Farmers Only? I know what you're talking about.
I thought it was a joke, but it was real. It was very popular.
Well, whatever. I'm not gonna dirty up my search history with FarmersOnly.com. That's I'm a married man, Teddy, and
Brad. It was a straight and narrow. Like it was a lot of Christian couples found there. Farmers Only. It wasn't
Christian couples. Christian farmer couples looking for a third? Is that what that is?
I don't know. There was no nefarious activity. It was just good, hardworking farmers who are, you're out in that rural area. I've lived in rural parts of the country where the grocery stores you might not see someone your age and your demographic who's single for weeks, Brad.
Yeah, I might be able to play this video. I don't know if you can hear the audio. Let me see. Let me try it real quick.
Hey guys, so diesel hit $7.
Can you hear that?
Yeah.
All right, well, I'll keep playing it.
Look at this. Look at this quality of guest. Go ahead.
Hey guys, so diesel hit $7 in Indiana today. And so me, being me, I automatically call a friend who they're farming thousands of acres, okay? Us as a small family farm that started out on a 20-foot by 20-foot garden, well, we don't have thousands of acres, okay? So I asked her, I said, hey, how much diesel did you go through last year? From getting soil ready and land ready to plant all the way to elevator. They went through over 22,000 gallons, guys. 22,000. And at the current price of basically $7, that's over $150,000 in just diesel costs to the farmer. Take the fertilizer prices, take the extra seed prices, take the extras that are being passed down to the farmer that we currently have to pay without any income coming in, okay? It is going to hit you guys. I need you to understand to actually start taking control where you can.
There it is. That's what I've seen.
Brad, that's the exact clip I was referring to. I'm very impressed.
Look at that.
The greatest guest in the history of the Teddy Brosevelt Substack podcast. I mean, for sure. Is it
Teddy Brosevelt Substack podcast, or is it Teddy Brosevelt time or Teddy time? What is it?
What do you think?
Cuddle time with Teddy. Teddy Cuddle.
Teddy Cuddle. Dude, farmers only. You got your libido up just talking about a farmer and then playing that.
It's a good thing this is audio only.
I think Teddy time or Teddy Brosevelt time. I think Teddy time maybe.
Well, you got to make a decision real quick, man.
I
Teddy time rolls off the tongue a little bit better.
I think you're right.
If that's what you're leaning towards.
I
whatever. We're
right.
talking about the Chinese Communist Party. We got a bunch of sanctions. We got inflation is through the roof. When is this going to hit, Teddy? I mean, I go to H-E-B, several times a week, and my grocery bill hasn't been drastically increased. It's pretty much what it already was. It's certainly not cheap. But I've seen the shelves are still mostly filled. The other day was the first time, I think I went on Sunday, today's Wednesday, and they were, I went on Monday, they were actually out of a lot of stuff, a lot of produce. I don't know if that was just the time of day that I went or what, but I don't think I've ever been to a grocery store where they were that low on inventory. And maybe, like I said, I didn't ask anybody. I don't know what's going on, but you see these pictures and videos all over social media of grocery stores across America having empty shelves, beyond just the baby formula shortage. And, it's hard to tell what's what. I'm sure if I went to H-E-B right now, they would have plenty of stuff.
Yeah, well, I'm hearing, Brad, that we're not going to see the real numbers until October, November. I read a big article in Pennsylvania. All these farmers, they talked to the agricultural commissioner, and he said there's two problems. They don't have enough money to put the plants in the ground, and they're afraid they're not going to have enough money to pull them out and harvest them, whether it's the labor shortage. The one guy goes, yeah, I go through 2,000 gallons of diesel fuel. My tractor gets 3 miles a gallon just driving around. So if you have big equipment, you might not be able to afford the simple task of planting, spraying, and harvesting. So they're like, yeah, there's going to be major. And then fertilizer. Like I really nerded out. And there's some things like with the fertilizer where it's literally the highest it's ever been across the board. So they either bit the bullet, planted what they normally planted, and we're going to pay for all the fertilizer, or they just said, I can only do 70 to 60% of what I normally do. Like the one guy said he needs 500 gallons of Roundup, the weed killer, per year. Yeah. And his distributor was only rationing out 50 gallons a week to everybody, so everyone can get it. He doesn't know when it's going to run out. What if he can do the $50 a week up until the middle of September, and then he's like, sorry, and then locusts come in or something. The way things are going, locusts could be on the horizon. So yeah, Brad, I hear we're going to be, and then think about feeding all the animals when they have to render the animals. I know that's a different harvest schedule, but they've had to fatten up, cattle and pig and stuff like since this. So that's where I'm really worried about Russia cutting off the gas. A word for Europe is that, and I'm worried for us, but they're going to have it double with the fuel and because they have no fuel. And it's literally the sanctions are backfiring. We were all told that Ukraine was brave. The ghost of Kiev was shooting down planes, Brad, and Putin was going to run out of bullets. He had cancer. He had dementia. It's the same thing they were saying about Trump, when he walked slowly down the ramp. Oh, my God, Trump's losing it. But Biden, who bites it, on a bike, everyone does that. He just got caught in the toe clip. So yeah, it's interesting how the media now is like, okay, well now Russia, like at this point, if there was any smart people in the room, wouldn't they engage in diplomacy, Brad? Wouldn't they try and bring the two sides to a table and negotiate a deal? Because it doesn't seem like this thing's going to end anytime soon. That people who are paying the price and bleeding are taking the pain are just normal citizens in the Western Hemisphere.
Yeah, well, the crisis does give them cover for poor economic decisions of the past many decades, especially over the past couple of years. Printing, 38% of the money supply in the past 2 years, whatever that is.
Oof.
So they have some incentive to keep this going rather than bring two sides together.
You're right.
And isn't this the problem with globalism, right? I mean, you want to rely on your neighbors and hope that they agree with you and want to trade with you fairly and openly and not hold things against you and do all that stuff. But you're sort of relying on your neighbors to be on the same page as you. And that's just really not possible with, the U.S. has 330 million people. China has 1.6 billion or whatever it is. Russia has however much. Europe has however much. And they all have different wants and desires and goals and motives and everything else, different cultures. And, this is the consequence of globalism, if you ask me.
Absolutely, Brad. That's a great analysis. I'm curious. Can we transition to your favorite topic, COVID, for the final segment of the show?
It's your show, man. We can do whatever you want.
Dude, you're the guest of honor.
Man.
You already brought in an audio clip. I'm just honored and humbled and grateful that you broke off the time. Austin Iconoclast, host, legend, Brad Swail. BRADSWAIL. That's at Brad Swail. You can find him on Twitter, Spotify, the Austin City Councilman podcast. Mr. Swail, question for you. Have you seen the airport delays and cancellations all over America the last weekend? It's been going on for a couple of weeks.
Well, I know that's been happening. I haven't seen anything about some sort of recent uptick. It is affecting me personally and sort of in a way. My mom took my oldest son to Scotland for a few weeks, and they're supposed to be back today. But due to delays and cancellations, stuff like that, their itinerary is changing a little bit. They'll still be back today, just not as at the time originally planned.
I'm curious if you think it has anything to do with the remember there was sort of some pushback from some pilots about the vax mandate in October, and they were all saying, Delta, American Airlines, Southwest, you have to get it. And I remember at one time, I think American 30% of the pilots were unvaccinated. Do you think there's a correlation
between the vaccine mandate?
Mandates, yes, and the staffing?
I thought they dropped. Did they not drop the mandates?
They may have dropped them by now, but it was October of last year. I was just looking on Twitter and retweeted some stuff. The CEOs were requiring it. So they might, because it's in the travel industry. And then, so I'm just understanding a lot of them took early retirement as opposed to doing it. or they transitioned into, hey, maybe they're just flying private jets or smaller regional airlines.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, there certainly could be a correlation. I don't know. I mean, there seems to be a worker shortage everywhere you turn.
Yeah, there is. Yeah, if you just figure like 3% or 5% of the flight attendants or pilots said no, that's a huge, that's hundreds of affected flights. And then there's bounce back COVID. I mean, Justin Trudeau just got it for a second time. Maxine Waters just got it for the second time, like in a couple months. Like Trudeau had it end of January, and he was triple vaxxed. Maxine Waters was
science itself got COVID.
Science itself got COVID again?
Well, I mean, he got COVID, last week?
Oh, Fauci. Oh, you're right. Science, the science himself got COVID. Yeah. He did. It is. I don't know anyone unvaccinated. Yeah.
Go ahead.
I don't know anyone unvaccinated who's struggling like this with bounce back, rebound. And I think most people I know are vaccinated. It's probably like a 60-40 split. And I don't know anyone who's really struggling with it, but it just seems like an inordinate amount of people. Brad, there's breaking news when we just got on here. Baltimore Ravens player, 26 years old, in the prime of his life. No history of drugs, alcohol, depression, was in the best shape of his life, was going to start for the team, died, 26, sudden passing.
Yeah. Jalen Ferguson died at the age of 26. Yeah. A sudden passing. And, they express and this may be a little bit poorly worded on their part, but they expressed their heartfelt condolences to Jalen's family and friends.
Well, wasn't there just a Democratic congressman whose daughter died 17 in her sleep, and they just sort of brushed that one under the rug? And I think I've mentioned on your show, there's if you go to dailyvoice.com, the Ocean Daily Voice, or just do a search for Ocean Daily Voice. It's a county, Bergen County in New Jersey, the obituaries there. It might be two or three counties. The number of sudden, shocking deaths in people in their 20s and 30s, it's absolutely unbelievable. I mean, since we've last talked, Brad, you had Justin Bieber.
Sudden adult death syndrome.
Sudden adult death syndrome. Justin Bieber gets half his face paralyzed from Ramsay Hunt syndrome. And if you look on Twitter, there is a doctor, February of 2022, saying, I've never seen a case of Ramsay Hunt syndrome before. I've had 3 patients so far this year. 7 weeks into the year, have Ramsay Hunt syndrome. His wife had a mini stroke, blood clots. She's 28, got rushed to the hospital in Palm Springs in April, had to have surgery in May, and then he has facial paralysis. I mean, what are the chances of that happening to 2 people in their 20s and not having it be related to the vaccine? I mean, it's unbelievable to me that all this stuff keeps happening. And I don't know how the Ravens person died, but there's no way just a 26-year-old, he wasn't involved with gangs. Like, he was married with 2 kids, by all accounts, just a happy. So I don't think it was suicide. There's no way. I mean, I'm 99.999% drugs, alcohol, no way. He had too much to live for. What happens? What happened?
Yeah, that's a good question. I guess we may never know.
We may never know, but what I'm hearing, Brad, is this BA.4, and we're coming up. Do you how much time do you have? You're a busy man, I know. You got 3 kids.
I mean, I'm okay right now.
Okay. Obviously, this was a lot worse in European soccer. They had a lot more. Sergio Aguero retiring. I mean, that was pretty insane at age 33 in the prime of his career. But yeah, the BA.4 and BA.5 variants, Brad, it seems like these are a lot more contagious, and the hospitalizations are surging. Portugal highest vaccinated country with over 1 million people. They have the highest case rate and highest death in Europe right now. Do you think there's any correlation? Israel, 70% of the new cases, the people are seriously injured, and it's not the Delta, not the Omicron, it's BA4 and BA5. And so the fact these vaccines have been formulated for these old variants, and the new ones seem to be causing a lot of harm, specifically in the vaccinated, it's unbelievable that they're continuing full speed ahead and approving it with kids.
Yeah, approving it for kids is really a bridge too far. I mean, maybe people could argue that for adults and elderly and stuff like that, I could understand for the elderly, sure, whatever, fine. But when it comes to 6 month to 5-year-olds, the vanishingly small risk factor that COVID plays to these defenseless little children. And then pushing this vaccine on them when they know that myocarditis, pericarditis, or whatever, and all of these other reactions have been so negative and widely reported. It's insane. I mean, I get text messages almost every single day from Texas Children's Health. Somehow I got on their text chain about available appointments for children 6 months and over for the COVID-19 vaccine. I started getting them, and I get them sometimes several a day.
Wow. But I mean, have you studied like the dosage, how different it is for the Moderna versus the Pfizer? It seems like the furthest thing removed from science I've ever seen.
Well, yeah, I mean, the Moderna dosage, I don't know what it is for the young children, but the adult dosage, it's like 100 micrograms for the Moderna, and it's something like 40 or something like that for the Pfizer. I don't know.
Okay, so for kids, 2 doses of Moderna, 25 milligrams each, 2 doses 28 days apart. So you're getting 50 micrograms, which is half an adult dose with a Moderna as a
6-month-old
kid. So think about that. If you're 6 months old, let's just say you weigh like 15 pounds, you're getting half the dose that a 150-pound or a 250-pound adult's getting. So it's like literally mega dose. For Pfizer, it's 3 micrograms per shot, 3 doses, the first 2 21 days, and then at least 8 weeks apart. So you're getting 9 micrograms with Pfizer, 50 with Moderna, 5 times, and they go, hey, what's the difference? What do you recommend, FDA advisor? Do you recommend the Moderna or the Pfizer? I mean, it seems like a huge difference, 5 times the medicine, and it's concentrated in 2 days. They go, well, any vaccine is better than no vaccine, Brad, so either one, whatever your pediatrician has on file, like, oh, trust the bleeping science. Like, shouldn't it be like, oh, if your weight is under a certain thing, or like the difference in weight between a 6-month-old and a 5-year-old is pretty significant. The difference between the amount of medicine in these notes from 5 micrograms to 9 is pretty significant. And they don't have a recommendation for you, Brad? Like, which one would be better? I would think the 9 micrograms for a 6-month-old would be better than a 50 micrograms in 28 days. You might knock your baby on its ass. And then the PDF, top right corner, bullet point, oh, warning, hey, if you get myocarditis or pericarditis after the first mRNA vaccine, you should halt all mRNA vaccines until the condition clears up. Then they say you can go ahead and inject it again. They literally said, hey, if you get myocarditis or pericarditis, you should probably discontinue it until the condition clears up. Then you can go full steam ahead and inject again. Like, you greedy, evil, this isn't about science. Like, and that's the whole thing, Brad, is there wasn't a question of whether or not the FDA or CDC was going to improve this because they had all the vaccines ready to go Monday morning in the exact Moderna and Pfizer, in the exact special for kids dosage. So, I mean, they had already signed the deal or whatever, so it was just a mere formality. All the FDA, they're all corrupt. And some of them said, like, when you look at the data, I mean, have you looked at the data? They're basing it on 10 cases. They're basing
my understanding is the data is not all that great.
The efficacy of the Moderna or whatever is 31%. For I think 2 to 5 year olds, 31. It's under 40, 31, 37%. The other thing is they gave the first 2 shots of Pfizer to them, and 375 kids got COVID. So they gave everyone a third shot. 8 weeks later, they're like, oh, well, this didn't work. Then they gave them a third shot, threw all the other data out, and said, oh, well, only 10 kids got COVID out of this group. So they ignored all the people who got COVID in between the second and third shot. They just threw the data out, Brad, 95% of the data, and just went with it's been 21 days since we gave them this shot at the end of April, which was 8 weeks after the second shot. And so that's how they came up with the regimen. Trust the bleeping science. Are you freaking kidding me? They just tried to salvage their failed study. That's what they did. And everyone just looked the other way. Oh, okay. It's no rhyme or reason. The only reason they're getting it's the 8-week thing is that's just when the results came up, and they're like, oh, well, looks like we have to inject them again. I mean, how are we allowing this? How are we allowing these big pharma people to roam free without? These people are evil and greedy. I don't understand where the outrage is, and it almost seems like they're trying to bombard us with inflation, Ukraine, because if COVID was the number one thing and the vaccine was the number one thing, everyone would be talking about the Baltimore Ravens linebacker right now. Everyone would be talking about the quote-unquote breakthrough cases. I mean, just look all over. The triple vaccinated, Brad, are testing positive way more than the double. Why?
Yeah. Well, I mean, Teddy, you asked the question about how we let these, these pharmaceutical executives sort of walk free or whatever. But before I answer that question, I need to take a quick break from my new sponsor, Pfizer. Pfizer, doing the good work for your family, keeping everyone healthy. That's Pfizer. Go to Pfizer.com for more information on how they can, what Pfizer can do for you. So back to you, Teddy.
Oh, that was brutal, Brad. Hey, we are taking sponsors, by the way. Hey, folks, if you enjoy this content, don't forget you can find me on Twitter @_Teddy Brosevelt. But we need some money. We need some sponsors. If you're a patriot realtor, real estate agent, if you're a patriotic business like a Black Rifle Coffee of Austin, there's a ton of people out there that would patronize your business just for having the cojones to state that you're a proud American patriot. And guess what? We're not hardcore. People say far right wing or right wing. Brad and I are as cool as they come. Cool as a couple of cucumbers on a bed of ice on a hot summer day in Texas. So, Brad, do you enjoy ice cold cucumber on a hot summer day?
No.
No,
you know my diet.
Oh, that's right. You're 100% meat. That's right. Well,
not to say that I wouldn't have a cucumber. I mean, I like the flavor of a cucumber, a cold one, sure, why not? But it's not something I usually go towards.
Okay. Well, I was just saying how cool we are. So, anyways, sponsors, hit me up, DM @_Teddy Brosevelt. Hey, you can get a week-long sponsorship just like Brad did that little Pfizer ad. We can give you a 90-second ad on the TeddyBrosevelt.substack.com. Teddy Brosevelt time show. So
Teddy Brosevelt time, TeddySubstack.com podcast. You got to get this straight, man.
Brad, I don't know if you know, but I did a trilogy. I did a blockbuster double part about Bitcoin mining. You mocked and scoffed when I brought this up last spring, and it feels like the table has turned. I don't want to say my articles caused a $1 trillion crypto collapse. It could have been a butterfly flapping its wings. Elon sees it, and he ends up selling. He feels all guilty about, remember, because Tesla put a bunch of Bitcoin on their balance sheet, and everyone said, hey, dude, this is like the most environmentally mean thing you could do. You're sort of contradicting the whole electric vehicle thing by supporting Bitcoin. So it seems to be hovering comfortably right around 20, but what was it, Saturday? I mean, dude, it was dropping like 19, 18. I think it was down to 17.5 at one point. And you don't hear about the Bitcoin miners. You know, they were really patting themselves on the back, Brad. They were going to shut down and save the grid. And today we've got peak energy demand. Wind power is at the lowest I've seen ever. It literally is almost around zero at noon. Bitcoin's about 20,000. You don't see any press releases saying, hey, we just shut down to save the grid, like when Bitcoin was at 60,000.
Yeah, well, you know, I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen with Bitcoin and crypto. Who knows? I'm sure it'll bounce back some. Who knows? I'm not giving you financial advice on this show. Come on,
Brad. Yeah, the are you familiar with the Elon Musk sent a tweet. He was talking about Wellbutrin and some of these psychoactive drugs, and he goes, "Oh, I think I've heard a lot of people having a lot better experience on ketamine and psychedelics, and there's been a little explosion of ketamine clinics in Austin. I don't know if you've noticed."
I am aware of it. I haven't really seen them. It's something I'd like to try just for the experience, but you know, I don't know how to go about that.
I was thinking about because some of them it's like 11 sessions for $3,500. So I was thinking, hey, if you want free coverage of your ketamine clinic, Brad and I are two people with social media profiles or whatever. You could give us free ketamine, and we will report on the experience to all of our followers. How about that?
I will tweet about it while I'm on the ketamine. How about that? Is that better?
Brad, that sounds great. I've had the death of my parents, my mom and dad. Losing your mom and dad, that's always, I know your dad just passed away, and there's a huge outpouring of love, grief, and support. I just lost my dog. I don't think I need to do ketamine over the dog, but you lose your parents. I had a drunk and drugged driver run me over 4 years ago, February 2018, broke both my legs, 3 ribs. It was very traumatic, and everything was going awesome. And next thing you know, I'm like in the emergency room for 8 hours. So I'm not like, I still have a little, I think lingering things from that. But if you look at the Google Maps reviews, it's really for people who were in the military or people who, you know, lost a spouse, or they were going through medical stuff, or just had a really deep treatment-resistant depression. It literally has changed their life around. So I figured maybe we could come up with a package deal. And the whole point of this, we were talking about stock investments, Brad. There's several psychedelic stocks, including a ketamine one, and I will send you the ticker symbol. That it's my stock tip of the quarter for Q3 coming up here. Now,
I mean, not to be your lawyer or anything, but I don't know how wise it is to give financial advice on your show, Teddy.
No, I don't. It might be, and then you just do the opposite of whatever I tell you. Like, I was thinking about doing a gambling advice, and then whatever I do, you just do the opposite, and I bet you'll be raking it in. So,
hey, man.
Yeah.
All right. Well,
anything else, Brad?
No, I think that's it. We almost did a full hour.
I'm honored. Like I said, grateful, humble. Do you want to tell everyone where they can find you?
Oh, I'm on Twitter at Brad Swail, BradsWail.
We mentioned it a couple times. You don't know how many people were, some people do errands or they exercise or they could have been in the drive-thru during that time. So I wanted to make sure they know. On the Austin City Councilman podcast, you can find it on streaming platforms everywhere, including Spotify and Apple Podcasts. You can find this podcast on my Substack. Every time I do a new episode, there'll be a post. I will be back again tomorrow. I'm going to try and at least do 10 or 15 minutes a day, Brad. Get in the habit. Hopefully we can get you on the show again sometime in the near future. But you were a tremendous guest. It's an honor and a privilege to have you on the show, bro.
Well, thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Thank you so much. Have a great rest of your day, Brad. And thank you for tuning in to the audience. Have a great rest of your day. Take care.